Hi, AT from CNC at Home. Several videos ago I made this envelope, and this holds a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded twice, so essentially quartered. And I make cards using that method frequently, and having this envelope is going to be really cool to be able to have something nice to put it in. I recently came across an envelope. Oh wait, back up. So the design for this is from a site called Template Maker. I'll put a link down in the description for that site. But I did come across this envelope. This was something that came to my mom some while back, and from a friend of hers. And I kind of liked the back of this. It's a vertical envelope instead of horizontal, which is a little different. And they had cut through with these little hearts. Well, that's kind of cool. So what I wanted to do was kind of break it open and see how that worked. The envelope on the inside, or the card on the inside was just a little thank you card, but it had this pink, and that's what came through on those hearts. So we can just kind of hold that up. And I was like, well, that's really kind of cool. I'm sure I could do that on here. I just need to do it on the back side, because on the front side is where the address and the stamp and all that's supposed to go. Unless you're just handing the card to somebody, then yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff, and then use a red or a pink paper inside of that. That might work pretty well. So what I want to do is, I have this envelope all broken open so I can measure it up, and then I want to try drawing that in LightBurn and cutting it out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let's head over to LightBurn and see if we can design this. I guess first we probably should measure it and write down some dimensions. Let's head over to the workbench with a straight edge and get this measured up. Then we'll head to LightBurn. Okay, what we want to do is start out with a simple sketch of the envelope. The card for this is about 3.5 inches by 5 inches, which converted to metric is about 89 millimeters by 126 or so. So that's the card side. What we want to concentrate on is this envelope. So we'll first sketch this out. Basically have a big rectangle, like so. Divide that in half. So that's the main body of this. We have a two-part flap here, and then we have a couple tabs. Looks something like that on there. And then of course there's hearts or whatever shape we want to put in there. That's something that we can fill in easily without specific dimensions. Let's go ahead and get an overall width for this. From there to the center is 95, and the center over is just a hair under 95. So we'll just call both of these sections 95 millimeters. That means the whole thing is going to be 190 millimeters across. Now let's take a quick measure of our little tab. It's 12 millimeters, so we'll call that 12. And we'll just assume this one is the same, so we don't have to measure that. I guess we need the height. So the height of this is, looks like about 132 or so. We'll call it 130 just to do nice round numbers. So the height of that then is 130. We'll need to measure up this piece. The flap thing here is about 45, so we'll call that 45 millimeters. And we'll just do a quick measure on this little part here, about 25 up. So from here to where it cuts over, call that 25 millimeters. And it comes in from the side about 6. So if we drop a line straight down, that's going to be 6 millimeters. And we'll just assume that that's symmetrical across a center axis, which it certainly looks like it. I think that's all the dimensions that we need on here. Let's go ahead and take this into LightBurn and get it drawn up. Within LightBurn, to make the envelope, I'm going to start with the basic rectangle. I will add the tabs on the side and the bottom, and then we'll add the flap and also some bend lines, and that should get us close to where we need to be. We'll start with a rectangle, and here we've got our aspect unlocked. And so we know the width is going to be 95 plus 95. I can enter that as a math formula. That should give me 190, and it did. The height, I think we said that was going to be 130. Yep. So there's our basic shape. We'll just plop that down in the corner. We do know that we're going to need to have a line, a bend line. Oops, hang on. So we need a vertical line, so I'm going to click, and I'm going to hit my shift key. So that basically will lock me into, in this case, a vertical line. And I know that its location, select it, okay, is going to be 95. And its Y position is going to be 130. Oh, that's from the middle. I need that to be from the lower left-hand corner, so let's try that again. 130. That's the bottom. 0. How about that? Okay, the height of this thing will need to be 130. Okay, so that gives us a bend line right down the middle of the card, right where we want it to be. We'll end up doing some editing because this also will need to be a bend line. And that will simply, we could do that now. We can just go into our node editor and select this particular entity, and we should be able to trim it. Why isn't it letting me do that? I don't know. Let's zoom in on it first. We have our node editor. All right, so let's cut that. Yeah, I suppose we could do that. We could cut that. It's going to be a weird way to do it, but we can take that shape, and then we can select this vertical line and then do our mirror. Yeah. It won't let me do that. I have to come over here to my tools or my arrange where we mirror across line. There we go. Now, okay, now we can do our node editor and we can yep, there we go. Delete that top one, and we can just then make sure on the blue layer, we're going to have a bend line that goes from here to here. I guess this one will need to be the same thing, because we'll have that tab coming off of here. If we just sit over that in our node editor, we'll be able to delete that. And then we can just draw a line from there, there. We'll bend there, we'll bend there, and we'll bend there. And we just need to draw our tabs off to the side and our flap. Let's go ahead and we want to draw another line. Let's go into our black layer. We'll draw a line from here. There we go. To here. Escape. And then we'll take the X position and we'll make that -12. We don't need the whole thing. We just need our Stop it. We just need the line that we created. Let's hide this real quickly. Stop it. Did we not get a line here? What's going on? Did we not delete that line? Now we've got that one. Let's do this. Let's put it on the red layer. Let's draw a line from here to here. Hit escape. And then we will move that line over to -12. There we go. That's what we need. Let's turn this back on. We'll draw another line from this point to this point. Escape. And we'll move that line. We can get the correct one. There we go. We'll move that to y of -12. And we just want to draw a line from here. I'm going to hold the shift key to force that to be a 45. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Draw a line from here. I suppose we can just draw one this way. That'll be the simplest. And then we can go into our node editor, and then we can just trim this up. And the way we do that is I just hover over the part I want to trim and press the letter T. There we go. Do the same thing down here. Back into our node editor. We'll hover over. So we have that line. We'll press T to trim that back. Select this one. We'll trim that. There we go. I guess we'll need one over here. Let's go ahead and select this line. I guess it's joined it all together. Well, I'll just draw a new line then. From here, shift key to there, escape, node editor, select this line, T for trim, select this line, T for trim. Okay. Now, we should have the basics. This edge is going to be a cut. Oh, I guess this is a trim too down here. And we'll need to select. Now, if I turn that to blue, that's grabbing a whole bunch more. So let's, what happens if we cut this? Okay, and then we'll just go to our blue layer and we'll draw a line from here, here. So complicated. It's changing things I don't want to change. That needs to be on our black layer. That's what we're going to cut out. That needs to be on our black layer because that's what we're going to cut. Okay, so we're going to cut that, and then we'll cut the flap up here. We'll cut here, we'll cut here, we'll bend here. Okay, this all looks good. Now what we need to do is draw our little flappy doodle thing here. Let's do that as just as a rectangle. Why not? And since we're going from here, let's do it. Rectangle to like that, and then its height. Where's my height? It's supposed to be 45. So down in the very bottom, we can see that, there we go, that's 45. 44. Go up, 45. Okay, so now we've got a rectangle. I'll just need to draw some lines coming up and then over to the top. So that's kind of more of a working area. I'll put that on a construction layer. So what we want is a line that goes from here. We need it to come up some amount. What did we say that was going to be? 25. So That seems awfully high, but what the heck. All right, and then over 6. So 25 and 6, so we'll click there. Then we'll come over here, and this needs to be all the way at the top and in the middle, which will be half of 95, which is, what, 47 and a half? Well, let's just stick it there for now. And then we'll draw a vertical line right here for now. And then we know that this vertical line, okay, let's see if we can move this now to where we want it to be. That needs to be 95 plus 95 divided by 2. Not bad. And we'll zoom in here. We'll go into our node editor. We'll select this. And it needs to be right there. Let's zoom back out. Let's also select these two lines, because that needs to be on our black layer, because that is going to be cut. What I want to do is I want to mirror that across this axis. So I'll select that. I'll shift select that vertical line. And then under arrange, I want to flip across line. There we go. And then this and that, I'll just do a shift select and go away. Before we go to the laser on this, we can add in some sort of shapes here. It could be anything. I do have a heart in my art library. Go to the art library and we'll just bring that over here. That's obviously way too big. And it's also an image, so let's do a trace image on that. Real nice, super easy. And let's shrink it down. Let's go ahead and lock its aspect, and we'll do it from the middle. And let's make its height 5 millimeters. What's 10 look like? Yeah, 10 looks good. So what we can do is we'll have it go from here, and then we'll use our array, and we'll tell it that we want to have some number of columns. Who knows? Let's just guess. Let's just say 10. That's too many. 6. Okay, that looks good. The spacing, yeah, that actually looks good at 5 millimeter spacing. And we'll do 4 rows vertically. And we do have the shift by half turned on. If we didn't do that, they'd all be lined up. We did that. That's weird. Now, granted, these two hearts will have to go because we don't want those going over the fold line. So let's go ahead and click OK on that. And because they are grouped, we'll have to ungroup them. And then we can just grab those two hearts, delete them. Bada bing, bada boom, we're all set. Now these should cut first because they're internal. So it'll first do, should do the blue lines. Let's do that first, and then it'll do the cutting. But because these are internal, and I believe I have that set to do internal first, in my optimization, cut inner shapes first. So that's on there. So if we do a quick preview, we should see that. Okay, here's our preview. And if we just play this quickly, let's go a little faster than do 5 times. It does our bend lines. Now, okay, now it's doing our hearts. Once it's doing the hearts, then it should do all the edges that need to get cut. Oh, that was interesting. Not quite sure why it did that. It's not following its own rules. That should be okay, though. To guarantee those get cut first, let's do this. Let's select all of those. We'll put those on the red layer. And then we'll make sure that we have the correct burn parameters for that. And then we'll push it up here so that it comes first. This one's already assigned, and this one we want to do a little bit different. So got brown dark, And I want to burn that a little bit slower, so or a little bit less. I'm going to go to 25% instead of 30. All right, we can go ahead and save that and then send that off for burning. That burned out real nicely, and the end result is here. So the little tabs can fold over, and then I can glue this. So this would be the back side, this would be the front. We can do the address stamp and all of that. And then this could either be taped over on the outside, or if you were really fancy, you might be able to tuck it in on the inside. I don't know. Anyway, this is kind of a cool envelope. We get a pink thing in here like this thank you card. It should look pretty much like it did on the one that we saw. Right, so very cool. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content of our channel, think about subscribing, as that really helps us out. Enjoy doing your CNC at home projects. Even if it's just making an envelope. Pretty cool.